Race 3 of the Davanti Tyres MX-5 Cup is about to get underway. Got a healthy grid about to head out on track, so for the last time this weekend, I'll hand you up to our race commentator, Andy McEwen.
Thanks very much, Anthony. We've got a reversed grid for this one as well. So it's George Taylor and Bobby Andrews on row 1, ahead of Daniel Grist and Matthew Short. Then Rafael Dzaschik and Chris Lovett ahead of Ben Hansen and Ian Tomlinson, with Paul Maguire on the 5th row of the grid. So our double race victor so far this weekend, lining up down in 9th with the fairly rapid Paul Monteith alongside him as well. So here we go for the final time this weekend. We're off and racing, and we're going to be 3 abreast immediately up towards Paddock Bend, with the 2 BS Motorsport cars going either side there of Bobby Andrews. On the inside line is George Taylor, on the outside Matthew Short, and oh, it's all gone wrong, has it? Andrews is off! Bobby Andrews is off, and also there was another car getting sideways there as well. Bobby Andrews is off into the tyre wall. I fear that might have been, no, it wasn't Ian Tomlinson, it was Chris Lovett then, I think, who was getting sideways as well and losing ground. Yes, it was the red car I saw getting sideways, but Bobby Andrews out of the race at the first corner, and the red flag flies immediately. So the race is being stopped just because that car is in a dangerous position, and in such a short race it makes no sense to bring out the safety car, because that's the most of the race gone. So we do this all over again then. The cars are released from the grid once more, and it's another good shot made by Matthew Short, and this time it's a much easier run in towards Paddock Bend for him. Chris Lovett also makes a good start this time around. He moves through into second place. Ian Tomlinson, the burgundy car, trying to come around the outside for third. It's all very, very tight indeed through Paddock Bend. Paul Maguire getting in on the action as well. Ben Hansen just in front of us. Of course, they were the top 2 in the, well, they were both on the podium, excuse me, in both of our races so far this weekend. There is Hansen, the white and green number 40 car around the outside, on board with Paul Monteith. Now, he started alongside Paul Maguire, who is the blue and orange car you can see well off in the distance, so that's the sort of progress that Maguire has made from the start. He's going to make another place there as well at the expense of a very sideways George Taylor, our erstwhile pole sitter, who very nearly lost another place coming out of Graham Hill Bend. So the leading 2 there, Matthew Short leads the way, but he goes wide at clearways, and up the inside comes Chris Lovett. So Lovett takes over the race lead. How much momentum has that cost Matthew Short? Will Ian Tomlinson be able to come through? You'd have to be looking at the likes of Tomlinson and Hansen to lead the charge to get to the front, and they'll be wanting to get there before Paul Maguire arrives on the scene, because Paul has been the class of the field this weekend. He's had by far the most pace in race conditions of anyone else out there, and if they let him get back to the front of the field and break clear, that may well be the last they see of him. For the time being, Maguire is still bogged down in the pack as bears on the inside. That was a cheeky move being made there by Daniel Grist. It almost worked as well, as he tried to find a way past Ian Tomlinson. In the end, it costs him exit speed, and so Ben Hansen draws alongside almost on the way towards Graham Hill Bend. In the end, though, the places stay the same. So Tomlinson stays 3rd, Grist is still 4th. 5th place, you can't see it because he took so close behind Grist, is Ben Hansen there. And then 6th place is now going to be Paul Maguire, because finally he finds a way past George Taylor towards clearways. Any move being made here? Hansen having a little look to the inside of Daniel Grist, who just slithers a bit wide. There is Rafael Dzaschik, who has had some sort of drama at the start of this one, I think, because he started on the 3rd row of the grid, but for the second time this weekend, his first lap hasn't quite gone to plan, and what was a promising grid position has turned into now a hard day's work. Here we go, Ben Hansen back up the inside of Grist here, trying to take 4th place away at Paddock Bend, and Paul Maguire reads the situation well, gets a much better exit from the corner than either of them, but Hansen is wise to it, moves over to the inside to defend. Maguire now has to go to the outside on the way into Druids, but doesn't really see the need in taking the risk. He's already won the first 2 rounds of the championship. He doesn't really need to get involved in any sort of silliness in race 3. Just pick his way through as and when the opportunities present themselves, and not take too many big risks. So down the Cooper Straight we go, in towards Surtees, and this is the Grist, Hansen and Maguire battle, and for Hansen and Maguire this could be an early representation of what may become the championship battle as the year goes on, as these 2 certainly seem very evenly matched, and now they're actually back in the pack together. I'm not sure Maguire is all that much quicker than Hansen. He is alongside him though on the outside line, heading towards Paddock Bend. Probably won't try and go right round the outside here. He'll just try that ever popular Paddock Hill bend switchback manoeuvre. There it is, you see. Get the late apex, get the run up the hill. Daniel Grist sideways in front of them as well, though, so that loss of momentum might complicate things even as they turn into Druids. In the end, he stays in front of them both, but Maguire moves ahead of Hansey. So good driving there from Paul Maguire. You could see that coming. He took the wide line into Paddock. He was always going to be able to get up the inside on the exit, and he did indeed make it stick. Meanwhile, Ian Tomlinson and Matthew Short doing battle over second place here, and Tomlinson on the outside line down towards Surtees. He's trying to move ahead. Behind them on the inside line, Paul Maguire is trying to get up ahead of Daniel Grist. That works, so too does the Tomlinson manoeuvre. So Tomlinson goes second, Maguire goes into fourth position. But Tomlinson now has a bit of a gap to close in on Chris Lovett at the head of the field. In fact, quite a big gap. So Lovett really has done well at the start of this race to pull away from the rest of the field, leave them squabbling, and then hope that they don't have time to catch him later on in the race. Maguire having a look at the inside there for third place on Matthew Short. Into Paddock Hill bend they go. Be right on board with the number 20 car as he clips the curb on the apex of the corner. No, he can't do it. Towards Druids, looking to the inside. This time he might be able to do it. He gets to the apex first. Heads up driving there from Matthew Short. He saw Maguire coming, decided not to close the door, and that was sensible because it allows Maguire through, but they do so without contact. You can see that Maguire has had contact at one point in the race because his passenger side wing mirror had been folded in. He won't be able to see anything out of that, but he doesn't anticipate many people overtaking him on the left-hand side. He plans to do all of the overtaking himself. He's into third place. Can he do the hat-trick of race victories? It's tough to do, especially with a reverse grid race to end out the weekend's racing, but he will do everything he can to make this work. He's also now, of course, got a car between himself and Ben Hansey, which is important. But Ian Tomlinson has been second in both of the races so far, behind Maguire, so the next overtake from Maguire is going to be arguably the toughest one he'll make all race. Looking to the outside again, they're looking to Paddock Hill bend just in front of this group of cars. He gets the late apex, but he's sideways doing it. He still gets there though. He took a bit too much curb that time. That nearly cost him, but through will go. Paul Maguire into second position now. The real challenge begins. He's got to try and bridge that gap to the race leader Chris Lovett, who is several seconds up the road, but he's still got about half the race to do it. So there's definitely time for Paul Maguire to go after the hat-trick. Of course, Ian Tomlinson is going to try and stay with him. This is the closest Tomlinson's been to the tail of Maguire's car all weekend long, because it's been a pair of really good race starts for Maguire that have allowed him to pull away from the rest of the field. There's Rafael Dzaschik, in the midfield pack, dicing away again here with Daniel Grist, who he's just overtaken. Next target for him is Matthew Short. Rafael, of course, looked as though he'd finished on the podium in race 2, and he's been given a 5-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. We saw him do it a few times coming out of Paddock Hill bend, out of Graham Hill bend as well. There are sensors down the other side of the curb there, so if you run over the edge of the curb and exceed the track limits, you will trigger the sensor. There's a camera pointing straight at you when you do it. It takes a picture, and that way, when you go to the clerk of the course's office post-race and try to argue that you weren't exceeding the track limits, you don't really have a leg to stand on, so to speak, and the clerk of the course can whip out the photo, and there is photographic evidence there straight away. You can see running very wide there out of Graham Hill, and that was interesting. Ben Hansey running wide out of Graham Hill bend, exceeded the track limit, and then almost seemed to raise his hand out of the cockpit to apologise to the cars behind, but you can see the momentum that gives him out of the corner. He's really pulled away from this group. Matthew Short could be about to give another position up here, though. I think, yeah, Rafael Dzaschik is up the inside, and the momentum is there with Short on the outside line, but I think Rafael is going to go through. He's got the inside line as they come across the start-finish line, heading towards Paddock Hill bend, and watch for Daniel Grist in the third car here, number 43 machine, to try and follow him through as well. In fact, he might try and go up the inside of the pair of them. He does! 3 abreast into Paddock Hill bend, has to back out of it, but he'll gain one position at the expense of Matthew Short. He very nearly got 2 for 1 there, though. That was brave driving from Grist, but in the end sensible driving, as he decided that discretion was the better part of valour, and he didn't want to get himself involved in any sort of contact. So back out of Druids goes Paul Monteith now. He is of course a little bit further down the order. I believe that is George Taylor, our pole sitter, that is in front of us. Yes, it is, with the novice cross down the Cooper Straight in towards Surtees, and the 82 machine staying in front for the time being. Paul Monteith in that very distinctively livery black and orange and red car is not been able to leap through the order. Impressive this from George Taylor, the novice cross on the back of his car, meaning that he's a relative newcomer to racing. This will be potentially his first ever race meeting, and here he is running solidly in the midfield in the MX-5 Cup. That takes some doing. Back out of paddock, through the dip and back up Hailwood Hill they go. It looks as though George has actually got the better of Monteith for the time being. Nice battle coke on behind though, isn't there, as well? 3 cars dicing together, as ever is the case in MX-5 racing, regardless of whether it's Mark 1s or Mark 3s. There is always lots of battling going on, lots of jostling for position, and you always have somebody to play with. Back into the final corner, meanwhile, coming the race leaders, and look at the way that Paul Maguire has caught Chris Lovett. So this is now a genuine fight for the race lead, but we've only got about 3 minutes plus 1 lap left, so 3, maybe 4 laps to go. And can Paul Maguire find a way through? So far he's been making most of his moves on the exit of this corner, Paddock Hill Bend, getting a nice exit from the corner, get on the inside into Druids, but you can see the car is sliding around a lot more than it has been all weekend long for Maguire, and that's because this is probably the hardest he's had to work, and he's probably overworked those tyres. So the tyre temperatures will be rising, the grip levels will be decreasing, and that means that the car is a little bit more of a handful to drive, so he's not going to have this easy. But Chris Lovett, as long as he can defend into all of the right parts of the circuit, might just be able to hang on. Of course, if they really start falling over each other, keep an eye on Ian Tomlinson to close in as well, and indeed this will help Ian, because Chris Lovett is now having to defend in towards Surtees there. Maguire gets sideways, a bit of a tank slapper as he goes from the left-hander at Surtees to the right-hander at McLaren's, and that just drops him that car length or so further back again, so pressure off momentarily for Lovett. Chris really would quite like to see Ian Tomlinson close in and start attracting the attentions of Maguire. It's always very hard to be the middle car in a trio of cars which are trying to attack, but also trying to defend. But here we go. We've seen this film before, haven't we? Goes to the outside into Paddock Hill Bend, gets the better exit from the corner, but no, not going to get sufficient momentum there to draw alongside into Druids. On right hand, you can see why the tyres take so much strain. The front tyres do a lot of work through the corners because they're all quite demanding corners, and then the rear tyres struggle because these are rear-wheel drive sports cars, of course, and so they you need those rear tyres to be in full health to be able to deploy what power you've got efficiently. And again, Maguire is the one getting sideways through Surtees, now into the right-hander at Clearways, and onto the pit straight, but Maguire is a bit closer this time. Now, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him pull to the outside line here and try that switchback manoeuvre again. Here he goes, across the start-finish line we go. We're into the closing stages of the race now, possibly 2 more laps to go. He's got the outside on the way in. Can he get that switchback manoeuvre, or can Chris Lovett see it coming and hold on? Good exit by Maguire. Can Lovett get over to defend? He's going to try. Maguire can't quite get his nose in the door. That was very close indeed, though. Now Paul goes to the outside line, out on the marbles. Look at that, you can see the dust being kicked up there on the outside edge of the road. There is no grip once you run out of the racing groove up at Druids, or any of these corners really. We're late in the weekend now. There's lots of rubber marbles, lots of dust and debris as well that are being kicked off the racing line, and once you start driving on them, you don't have any grip at all. Maguire throwing everything at this, though, and he wants to do it before Ian Tomlinson arrives on the scene in towards Clearways. Again, he takes a wider line in, keeps it on the straight and narrow this time as well. No great sideways antics on the way into Clearways. On the way out, he's a bit tail happy, but just so eager to get on the throttle and get in that slipstream. He's going to be close enough to try the same manoeuvre again as we flash across the start-finish line up towards Paddock Hill Bend. Outside line for Maguire once more, inside line for Lovett, but actually Maguire didn't take an ultra smooth line into the corner. It might still be enough though. Can Lovett get over to defend this time? I don't think he can. Paul Maguire has his nose in the door, late on the brakes. No, still Chris Lovett will not let him through. He runs a bit deep into the corner. He was so late on the brakes there to try and deter Maguire from going up the inside, but it doesn't really matter because the next corner is a left-hander. Watch for the exit speed from the blue and orange car though. He's going to have better momentum down the straight, but again, as he hits the loud pedal, the rear of the car is hanging out sideways, and so he can't really execute these switchback manoeuvres the way he has been doing, because the rear tyres aren't there for him. They have now well and truly been caught, by the way, by Ian Tomlinson, so this is going to be a three-way fight as we go on to what I think will be the final lap of the race. Wide line out of clearways there for Chris Lovett. He needs to be careful not to leave the door open for Maguire as we come across the start-finish line. Maguire once again is faced with the outside line up towards Paddock Hill Bend. 1, 2, 3 across the line onto the final lap of the race. Lovett defends heavily. This could hurt him on the exit of the corner though. Watch for Maguire. Lovett's going to run out wide. Maguire keeps it tight. No, Lovett saw it coming, held back on the throttle mid-corner. It loses him speed out of the turn, but it meant he got back across to the inside to defend. Maguire goes to the outside. They both run a bit deep. Watch out for Ian Tomlinson as well. Any one of these three drivers could still win the race. We've still got over half a lap to go. Outside line again into Graham Hill Bend for Maguire. Can he make this move stick? No, Chris Lovett is placing the car absolutely perfectly. Heads to the defensive line down the Cooper straight. Maguire trying to pull to the outside into Surtees. It's a brave man who tries this. He gets sideways again on the marbles. One more corner to go. One more chance to overtake it. I think Chris Lovett is going to defend it. He doesn't run too wide on the exit, but it will be a drag race to the line. Look at Paul Maguire, completely out of shape, but that's done it. Chris Lovett has been given the breathing room that he needed, and he will win round number 3 of the Davanti Tyres MX-5 Cup by 5 Club. Second is almost a dead heat finish. It just goes the way of Paul Maguire. It's third place for Ian Tomlinson, but what a race that was. The top 3 covered by half a second after 14 laps of racing. Confirmation of the result then. Lovett from Maguire from Tomlinson, your top 3. Ben Hansey is 4th and Disastrich in 5th. Then Matthew Short, Daniel Grist, George Taylor, Paul Monteith only 9th, and Daniel Pitchford down in 10th position. 11th was Howard Lancashire, 12th was Sam Moody. We lost Zeren Dallas and Bobby Andrews with that red flag incident at the start, and Paul Maguire took the fastest lap.
Well, Paul, it wasn't first on track, but Chris Lovett is in the championship. It's not yet to score points, so that hands you the win for the championship. But you came from 9th to 1st. What a race that was.
It was phenomenal. I'm still grinning. If I'd known he was a guest at the beginning, I might not have tried to lose it by getting past him 3 or 4 times. I could see Ian catching, and I just had to either get past him or just literally stick with him. And I tried and tried, but he had a very wide Mazda.
It's been great to see you in all the races this weekend. It's a fantastic start to the season for you. What can we expect to see in the next round?
Yeah, I'm going to look forward to Croft. I've got to say a big thank you to MJA Race Engines at Bromsgrove, Ali Bray, AB Motorsport for prepping the car. I mean, that's only been driven 3 times now since Christmas, and it's just it's floating around the track. It feels awesome. So, but I'm surprised to come from 9th to 1st in that meeting.
Ian, you started 8th. 2nd isn't bad, and especially when you went over the line 0.04 of a second behind him.
No, it was very close, wasn't it? I was just a few inches off, you know. But yeah, maybe next time.
Yeah, well, it's been a great weekend for you. You've had several podiums, plenty of points for the championship, so you've got to walk away with a smile on your face.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said before, mate, Brands isn't really my best track, so to come away with 3 podiums is pretty good, yeah.
Ben, you said Brands isn't your favourite circuit, but to walk away with 3 podiums, you've got to be happy with that.
I'm over the moon with that. The guys at BS Motorsport have put together a massively great car for this year. If I can keep putting it on the podium, then that's repaying them guys as much as I can.
Well, it's been a pleasure watching you over this weekend. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.